The amount of litigation locked up in the direct tax cases in India currently is 1.002 trillion rupees. The transfer pricing adjustment made in India in 2012-13 alone was 700 billion rupees. Looking at such heavy amounts, a question rises: why such litigations? Can't we or the department do anything to reduce these litigations and live a demand-free life? A very good morning for non-present. I am Kartik and today I am here to speak on the topic Safe Harbour Rules, a step towards reducing the litigations in transfer pricing, and I say yes, it is. In the recent past, a majority of direct tax disputes have been decided initially in the favor of the tax officials. The taxpayer is required to deposit the whole or a significant portion of the disputed amount. Much of the analysis in the transfer pricing litigation in India have concentrated on the adoption of the right method for determining the arm's length price. Well, in the next 10 minutes, I would like to put forward the complete picture of Safe Harbour rules, but before doing the same, I would like to break the topic in simpler terms and would like to explain each of them in brief so as to portray a definite image. I would first like to introduce the topic in the most simplest manner. Transfer pricing in simple terms means the practice of arm's length pricing for transactions between groups of companies placed in different countries so as to ensure a fair price has been charged to the unrelated party. Arm's length price is the price at which the willing buyer and the willing unrelated seller freely agrees to transact. As I've already mentioned the statistical data of the tax disputes, I would once again like to highlight the fact that one frequent area for tax disputes in India is transfer pricing. There is no hiding from the fact that India's tax system is complex and the authorities are aggressive. This has made India an overtly litigious country and dampened the business confidence. Tax disputes are time-consuming and costly to manage. The main reason for litigation in transfer pricing is the concerned tax officials merely have an opinion that the arm's length price determined by the taxpayer is not in accordance with the statutory provision or the method used by the taxpayer is not correct. What if the root itself is cut? The tree will automatically fall. Yes, this is what Safe Harbour Rule is all about. To maintain the level of safety and reduce the litigations in transfer pricing, the government has finally approved the rules that would minimize the tax disputes and litigations, the Safe Harbour Rules. On 18th September 2013, the Ministry of Finance had issued a press release stating that the Safe Harbour Rules have been finalized. Safe Harbour Rules are circumstances under which the Income Tax Department will accept the transfer price given by the SEC. Amazed? Yes, you heard it right. The department will accept the transfer price given by the SEC subject to fulfillment of certain conditions. Declare the minimum percentage of profit as prescribed by CBDT and be safe. On this, I would like to say, इन बढ़ते litigations ने तो कर दिया है SSEs का हाल बेहाल. इन बढ़ते litigations ने तो कर दिया है SSEs का हाल बेहाल. Safe Harbour Rule लाकर डिपार्टमेंट ने तो कर दिया है कमाल. क्या सच में डिपार्टमेंट का दिल है इतना विशाल? या इसमें भी उनकी कोई तरकीब है? यही है मेरा सवाल. Anyways, looking it from the positive way, the main reason for litigation has been identified and the necessary step has been taken to reduce the litigations in transfer pricing. Now, let me highlight the ways and areas in which the Safe Harbour Rule will reduce the litigations. In UK, it is the tax officials first who demonstrate that while the arm's length price determined by the taxpayer is not correct, before an adjustment could be imposed with a maximum penalty of 40%. In Japan, it's the tax officials who bear the burden of proof and the penalty ranges between 10 to 15%. But here, in India, I'm already seeing you smiling faces. It's the taxpayer first who has to demonstrate that while the arm's length price determined by the tax official is not correct and the penalty ranges up to 300% of the additional income tax liability. Thus, with the introduction of the much needed Safe Harbour Rule, all these confusions, litigations and tax disputes would certainly be reduced. It was high time that we had to find a way out to reduce these litigations in transfer pricing. India has slipped to 60th position in terms of competitiveness globally. Doesn't matter, we are the third highest jurisdiction with pending transfer pricing cases. Where we have to slip down, we go up, and where we have to go up, we are slipping down. So the safe harbor rules have at least prevented us from becoming the first highest jurisdiction in tax disputes, thanks to safe harbor rules. Around 2,500 transfer pricing disputes are still pending in litigation. Without the safe harbor rules, the day was not so far, my dear friends, when the number of disputes would have been more than the number of SSEs involved in transfer pricing. In LG Electronic case, the authorities' claim amounted to a transfer pricing adjustment of 1.61 billion rupees. Vodafone is already fighting a transfer pricing case at the Bombay High Court involving a 3,700 crore disagreement. Thus, with the introduction of safe harbor rule, much of this transfer pricing adjustment would be certainly reduced and no more risk for the taxpayer from the sophisticated tax officials who use the commercial databases. Let me highlight a point. The safe harbor provisions also contains acceptable norms for certain categories of financial transactions such as guarantees provided and intra-company loans. So we can definitely say that another area of litigation has been reduced. That is, the safe harbor provisions will reduce the focus of the revenue on complex issues such as guarantee fees and intra-company loans. Even internationally, safe harbor rules has been evaluated favorably. The benefits of safe harbor rule, reducing the litigation, applies to both, to the taxpayer and the department, as it saves money and efforts on both ends. But for the particular taxpayer, these safe harbor provisions represents an elimination of risk and compliance burden and finding arm's length real market comparable transactions. It is not uncommon that the income tax department and the taxpayer have a difference of opinion on the interpretation of tax laws. This was resulting in the discrepancy of the arm's length price determination and the right method to be used. Where the SEC uses the cost plus method, the department will argue to use the resale price method. To avoid these situations which were leading to litigations, the safe harbor rule has come as a bright light in the dark cloud where the core concept of acceptance has been considered. Currently, safe harbor rule is available for software development, business process outsourcing, research and development for softwares and pharmaceuticals, manufacture and export. With the introduction of safe harbor rule, much of the multinational companies would be relaxed who were just uneasy with the litigations and the aggressive measures, particularly with the demands of the tax officials. The income tax department is aggressively scrutinizing cases relating to transfer pricing, leading to an increase by around 70,000 crores in claims. In a recent press statement, NASSCOM, the lobby group of technology, has welcomed the rules and said that it would reduce the litigations, offer certainty, help to attract new investments, and expand the existing centers. Considering a multilateral approach, the OECD has recently approved the use of safe harbor for specific circumstances by revising its Section E of Chapter 4 of its transfer pricing guidelines for multinational enterprises and tax administrations. Another point that I would like to highlight is, if a taxpayer, after filing an objection with the commissioner, not replied within 2 months, then the option exercised by the taxpayer would be treated as valid, thus reducing further litigations. From all these above facts, we can definitely say that safe harbor rule is indeed a step towards reducing the litigations in transfer pricing. But a quick thought passes through our mind. Less litigations means less scrutiny cases, and less scrutiny cases means less professional opportunities. National interest comes before professional interest. Let's hope that these rules brings about the desired change. However, there seems to be a few unsafe areas within the safe rules. The operating profit margin are still high, but friends, कुछ पाने के लिए कुछ खोना पड़ता है. The companies have to pay price to buy peace with the department, and I guess that would be preferable. The OECD has recommended the use of safe harbor to be adopted on a bilateral or multilateral basis by means of competent authority agreements between countries that would reduce the risk of double taxation, which is one of the most spoken about drawback. Thus, I would like to conclude by saying that the safe harbor rule is a welcome development and indeed a step towards reducing the litigation in transfer pricing, improving the overall investment climate in India from a tax perspective. As Edward Irving has rightly said, where there is fear, you get wrong figures. So the safe harbor rules have removed the fear of deriving a disputable figure. Let's hope that these rules does not only reduce the litigations but also mitigate them. I'm sure that the safe harbor rules will help the SSE to play safe and be safe. Thank you and have a nice day.